What is a product that if people found out how it was made they'd stop buying it? Most low to mid-tier vodkas. I work at an industrial distillery where we make millions of gallons of very high purity ethanol from corn. We have customers in the beverage market that literally just dilute our product to 80 proof or so, run it through a filter, and bottle it to sell. Those customers sell their products from anywhere from $8 to $50 plus for a liter. And you know what the main difference is? The more expensive vodka's bottle is fancier. It's almost all brand perception with these corn-based vodkas. Edit. My apologies. I didn't intend to be confusing. What I intend to convey is that a lot of vodkas are made from corn, and the actual alcohol is not made by the company on the label. They essentially operate as a packager. Some companies do more than others with this alcohol as far as processing it goes. So for me, that means that I don't typically buy corn vodka. Most cheap or expensive corn vodkas are very similar. I feel wheat, barley or potato-derived vodkas are usually better. I used the label low mid-tier because that is how I have the alcohol cabinets organized in the lab at work. Which was dumb as that's not really a useful designation unless I name the brands we have in these groups, and I won't do that for business sake. All that being said, there is nothing wrong with corn vodka. If you like the taste, buy it, and not all corn vodkas are identical. After all, my company supplies much of it. I just don't want people to fall for the marketing shenanigans that some of these corn vodkas are special, handmade, etc. Certain signed artwork. Used to work at an art printing company that we did signature editions of certain pieces. Guess who did the signing? Me and some coworkers. We were all design and art majors, so they just had us learn all the artists' signatures. We even had machines that could mimic the signatures too. I wish I had a picture of the devices, they were pretty cool. It was in the fine print that we were doing it and was approved by the artists, but I guarantee most people would never buy the prints if they knew the signatures were forged. So always read the fine print when buying items. Especially special editions of stuff. This reminds me of a documentary series my dad once watched. Garlic. The garlic industry is a hell of a lot darker than most people would think. I don't remember everything, but apparently a lot of Chinese companies that sell to restaurants overseas use prison labor. These inmates have to peel the garlic completely by hand. No tools whatsoever. There were a few inmates missing fingernails, if I recall correctly. One man said that he had a friend who had to resort to using his teeth because he didn't have any nails left. They work unimaginably grueling shifts, in which they have to meet a quota for the day or face consequences. They get paid very little, if anything at all. They all seem so miserable. The series is titled Rotten. You can find it on Netflix. Fresh juices are not so fresh apparently. A friend whose family owns mango orchard told me these companies buy the leftover stock that doesn't sell directly and leave the rest to strong artificial flavoring for uniform taste. In high school, the girls in my class were horrified to find out what their Uggs were made of. They had no idea. The human brain is incredibly good at forgetting and ignoring information that might inconvenience it. Silk. Bonus story. Had a friend who worked briefly in bridal and was fitting a woman who was boasting how vegan and eco-friendly her wedding was going to be. No one was allowed to wear leather, etc. All while wearing her dress with huge amounts of silk on it. ETA. The 20th of July 17. A lot of people asking if my friend told the bride. So I asked her. No, I didn't. The bride and her friend started making fun of my disability when they thought I wasn't in the room and couldn't hear them. I would have also lost my job if I had lost the sale. I want to say sneakers by brands like Nike, who exploit, underpay and abuse their workers. But sadly most people already know how they are made and still buy them. After I found out the story behind the palm plantations for production of palm oil, I made it my personal mission to completely throw it out of my life, and that shish tea is in almost everything you eat. Not really a product, but if people knew how much and often people cut corners in construction, I think housing prices would go way down. I don't think I was ever on a job where a problem came up, and people were like, okay, let's start over and do this right. Or, especially in bigger construction companies, how much time the employees waste to run the clock. Edit. Guys, trust me when I say I have put my sweat and blood into the industry. My hands are calloused. I'm still working class and it wasn't my intention to call out people that do this stuff as lazy, or whatever else. Most people doing these jobs are extremely underpaid. And on top of being underpaid, they're putting their bodies and health on the line every single day. I almost lost a finger. Twice. I've almost had a whole granite slab fall on me for $11 per hour. I probably would have died. And many more situations I won't get into. Don't take it out on the workers. Just try your best to work with a smaller company that isn't working 50 jobs at once and has a supervisor owner around to watch what's going on. Fast fashion. Even a conservative estimate puts that industry as the 5th biggest polluter globally. Just stop it. Slurm. I've worked in 2 different meat departments in 2 separate grocery stores. The meat in the case that has had work done, marinated or like put into kebabs, are usually the old meat we didn't sell that is about to go bad. That marinade is hiding how shitty the meat looks. Chocolate produced by child labor. Coffee and cockroaches are linked in several ways. Anyone who enjoys sausage and respects the law should never find out how either are made. Baby powder. If only they knew where all the babies go. I really don't think there is one. If it's because the ingredients or preparation are disgusting. I think most people are perfectly happy to keep using it because the finished product is fine. If it's a moral reason. I just don't think most people would care enough to stop using or eating whatever the product is. We've known for years that Air Jordans are being made with child labor in sweatshops. And sales haven't dipped one bit due to that, and I don't say this as a cynic. I think we should work to improve conditions for all humanity. But the proportion of consumers who would be bothered enough to stop buying a thing is vanishingly small. RVs. They aren't insulated fully. Nothing is sealed correctly. All the electronics that are fancy and new are outdated and inefficient. The manufacturers use the cheapest materials possible and all RVs are built in 8 hours. A vacation home. On wheels. In 8 hours. Nothing. People know what goes into hot dogs and chicken nuggets. They still eat them. They've seen what the sweatshops look like. And they still buy stuff from there. Babies. My parents decided to build a house in another state. The builder did not know I lived in the neighborhood. The builder took this nice piece of land and spread about 2 feet of broken concrete over where the front yard and house would be, not knowing much about construction practices. I took a picture and showed it to a construction engineer friend. He said that was messed up and there was no reason for that. Hired a local third-party engineer to visit the building site. And he said the builder was destroying the land. Parents had a lawyer send a letter to the builder. Builder's lawyer wrote back, denied any wrongdoing. Parents threatened to sue. Builder offered to refund deposit. Rather than waste time, money on a lawsuit. Parents took back deposit and walked away. Wasted money on architect fees. Builder completed house. The finished house was raised 3 feet above where the natural ground was. Whoever bought that house either didn't know or care that 6 inches below was tons of broken concrete debris. Fuck that guy and every builder like him. I'd imagine if people walked through the sweatshops that produce most of their clothing, they would consider spending a bit more for products made in a more humane way. Mica products. I watched a documentary about mica mines in areas where child labor tends to be exploited, and the interviewer asked this girl about her experience and she described how her sister died in the mine and she's still working there. Mica is in almost all beauty products, and due to the change of hands it can be hard to determine if natural mica is actually ethically sourced. However, after watching some soap-making videos, I've discovered that Mad Mica sells sparkly stuff that neither puts children at risk nor destroys the environment with microplastics. For those who want their cake and want to eat it too. Buy. Might be a stretch. But porn. When abuse happens there, not only is it pretty abominable, but the end user also watches a good bit of it with their own eyes. People always point at Apple for exploiting Chinese labor but don't realize that pretty much every company does the same thing and most of them use the exact same factory as Apple. It's called Foxconn. Not Apple. They make everything. Not exactly a product, but certain legal services. A lot of times lawyers are just filling in blanks from a template when drafting documents. And many problems can be resolved with a 2-minute online search if you know where to look. If the public had the knowledge of and access to the resources available to lawyers, there's an awful lot people could figure out for themselves. Of course, that's not to say it's a good idea to DIY a legal matter if you don't know exactly what you're doing. Just that the prices people pay for certain legal services aren't commensurate with the amount of time and effort they actually take the lawyer to complete. Edit. I am a lawyer myself. And I'll echo others' comments by saying that you can seriously screw yourself or your loved ones over by doing even something as simple as a will incorrectly. In matters above a certain level of complexity, it would be insane to even consider representing yourself. The point still remains that my clients might think twice about how much they paid me if they watched me draft their deed in 6 minutes while listening to a Let's Play in one earbud and browsing Reddit in another tab. You'd be surprised how many products, including food, involve slavery, edit, and/or animal cruelty. I greatly prefer to go leather-free in anything I use. Does anything exist that doesn't harm other living beings in some way?